Welcome to the Week 4 Sunday night edition, the return of the PFF forecast. We're going to talk about the weird Patriots-Bucs game. We're going to talk about the Cowboys, the Cardinals, all of the big Week 4 storylines. Oh, my God. And then we're going to guess the lines for Week 5, talk about our favorite bets for Week 5. If you did bet Week 4 games on Sunday, you got some really good closing line value with this podcast on the Patriots.
You also won, except for the Patriots game.
Yeah, except for the Bucs. The Chiefs, though, you got some nice value there as well. So we'll do all that stuff. Let's start, though, with the Bucs-Patriots game. What was your biggest takeaway from that game?
As a Kansas City Chiefs fan, I'm really pissed we lost the Super Bowl to them because they're not that good. Like that's my biggest takeaway is like and I guess that this is what it means to win the Super Bowl, right?
What do you mean they're not that good?
Well, like they're just like every other team when they have to face adversity the same way that other teams do, right? So you lose Carlton Davis, you lose Jamel Dean, you lose Sean Murphy-Bunting, and all of a sudden you're like havable in the secondary, right? You get Vita Vea back at a good time last year. He was hurt at an opportune time for you, to get better late in the season. So to me, that's like kind of like where I see, like I watched that game and I'm like, crap. Like that team wasn't inevitable last year.
Newsflash, it's not all about the Chiefs.
I know, but
So here was my takeaway, because I think a lot of people's takeaway is going to be Mac Jones is, I don't know if they're going to say, he's the best rookie quarterback, or the Niners should have taken him, or he's the second coming, or whatever it is. It'll be something positive about Mac Jones. Now, do I think Mac Jones played well? Absolutely. They blitzed him all game. But we talk about this all the time, which is a pass rush is really not as powerful as you think it is if there's no secondary to cover.
Yep.
And that's what we saw here. I mean, Richard Sherman clearly wasn't quite used to playing in that defense. I actually, he got targeted a ton. It wasn't like he gave up any big plays, but it wasn't lockdown coverage by any stretch of the imagination from him or anyone else. When they lost Carlton Davis, it became pretty bad out there, especially because the Patriots receivers are not great. But on the other side of things, my biggest takeaway is that I think Tom Brady's going to light up whoever comes in his way next week. It was so obvious to me that he was feeling nerves, that, they were talking about how he was like almost crying in the Zoom call that they had with him yesterday, the Sunday night crew was. And it was a very Brady-esque performance. He did drop it in the bucket to Antonio Brown there at the end.
A couple times.
Yeah, they probably should have covered that 5.5, which we had them at. But I don't know, man. I think that's a really hard spot for Brady to come in and play in.
Yeah, in hindsight, we didn't know what the weather was going to be like. We didn't know, some of the injury situation with Gronk at the time. We still got out in front of the number, and that was important to me. And obviously, another week where, just to sort of circle back, we had 1.5 of closing line value, Kansas City minus 5.5 to Kansas City minus 7. The biggest bet I had all weekend was Kansas City minus 6.5, and you were there with me. That was a sweat. The Chiefs are not in form yet. We got Giants plus 8.5. That closed at Giants plus 7. They win that game outright. We got Seattle plus 3.5 at San Fran. That closed at plus 2.5. They win outright. So after a week where we went 1-5, we went 3-1 written up. So far, we have Las Vegas.
Don't you get rid of the lock of the week?
And then the lock of the week, which is 3-1 this year.
The Mahomes over 2.5 passing touchdowns, which cleared in the first half.
On
shovel passes, no less.
Yeah. So if you combine all those, it's 13-10 and a push. And on the year with the Las Vegas Raiders at the Chargers this week pending. We got them at 3.5. It is now 3. So not a bad. I tried to talk you off the ledge last week with saying, look, if you continue to make good plays, things will come around. And I don't even think we got all that lucky, because I do think the Bucs covered this game in a lot of other circumstances.
Plus, can I give you a shout out? So on Wednesday night, we talked about our favorite bets, and you really like the Bears. And I was like, Matt Nagy is just such a disaster.
Perfect.
I mean, they tried to give that game away, but that was a great one.
But that's why you have to bet, because sometimes, like, if you like, I can't remember which game you liked. No, you liked the Packers, and I didn't like the Packers so much. Well, then you bet it, and you get to, like, that's the thing. Like, I bet. Today when I went to go bet a few games, like, I made sure to bet the Bears because it was the classic. You're buying the Bears. Literally, when everybody, like the Jets and the Bears this week, no one could say a nice thing about them. And with the Lions, everybody's like, "Oh, this is a scrappy team." Blah blah blah.
I think it's one of the kind of more global ones. I think to take away from this week, which is it's a week-to-week league. Teams are never as good or probably as bad, unless you're the Texans or the Jaguars, as you look the previous week. Before we move on to the other teams, the Belichick hug at the end, any thoughts on that? It's the quickest hug in the history of all hugs.
Yeah, I mean, I honest to God, I was getting ready for this, so
you didn't see it?
I didn't really.
Okay, so I mean, he gives Brandon Bolden, Tom Brady does, an embrace as if
like he grabs his ass,
like a long lost friend from many years ago. Belichick runs in there like a quick hug, good game, and then like turns and runs away, and Brady's kind of like standing there like
waiting for him to talk.
I was kind of hoping, and then Josh McDaniels comes in and like gives him an ear tickle, and they're talking for 2 minutes. So
goodness gracious.
I don't know. I think it's just that there's so much emotion between the two of them that it's almost hard for them to have a conversation like that right now in this moment.
Well, I mean, you do so many. You go through so many battles together, right? Like it's certainly. I can see probably a situation where that is a difficult thing, even if you don't hate the other person.
I also don't think Bill Belichick is one of those guys that feels super comfortable talking about his feelings in front of other people. Yeah. definitely not one of those guys.
His spawn would seem to suggest
Steve Belichick. Who does Steve Belichick remind you
of? Somebody put this out there, but the character that Stifler played in Road Trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one.
The guy with the mullet and the gun.
He reminds me of like the closer on the high school baseball team that starts doing dip like 5 years before anyone else knows what it is.
Yeah.
In like 7th grade, whose dad drives like a old school car that makes a ton of noise and helps him buy alcohol before parties. That was kind of what Steve Belichick reminded me of.
A good defense tonight, though.
They played. I thought the Patriots' defense was incredible.
Without their best player, too.
Yeah.
Gilmore has yet to play this season, and that has certainly J.C. Jackson has shown me something. I always sort of thought he was somebody who could only really make plays because of the way that Belichick negotiated the size of the space he had to go through. But he's certainly somebody who can make plays when by himself.
All right, let's move on to the other games here. I think there were some big things that happened. Let's start with, I think, two of the more impressive wins. Actually, let me ask you this. What was the most impressive victory today? Because there were a bunch.
Yeah, I shy away from some of to me, it's Arizona against LA. I don't even think it's close. I think Kyler Murray, if you add the whole thing up, is the MVP of the league right now.
Really?
I mean, they're 4-0. He's won. I mean, he went to, transitivity. Like, LA is not the best team in the NFC, but they're a good team. And he went there, and they won by multiple scores. They scored on 7 of the 9 possessions he had. He was fantastic. And he's doing it differently. Like they're targeting. DeAndre Hopkins is getting 18% of their targets this year. He got 29 last year. Mm-hmm. I really think that that was most impressive. Now, here's I would say most important. A little bit of a difference. Cleveland winning in Minnesota was important. Mm-hmm. It wasn't impressive.
Sure.
I think Washington winning in Atlanta was important. I don't think it's impressive. And then I think both important and impressive was Dallas and how they handled Carolina.
What about the Giants?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the Giants is their schedule is so hard.
Right. I just think it was fair. I was shocked that they won that game.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, they got it in overtime. The Jets also won as well. The Seahawks game, obviously made a little less impressive by the fact that Jimmy G went out with an injury, but they actually came through and finished the game despite Russell Wilson, not having like some ungodly game, which generally is what it takes. Look, I'm in agreement with you on the Cardinals. That said, it was a letdown spot for the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just beat the Bucs at home.
Yep.
They're feeling themselves. What impressed me, Kyler Murray has impressed all season. He's top 5 graded quarterback, pending review. He makes up for Cliff Kingsbury's inefficiencies all over the place. But the Rams, to me, really disappointed here. And I thought they, it wasn't Matt Stafford's sharpest game. Sean McVay had, I think I counted 4 really poor fourth down decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And the defense gave up a ton of points. I mean, 37 points to the Cardinals. So, yeah, I did think it was impressive, but I thought it was a little more than just Kyler Murray in this particular situation. I think another takeaway that I had from this week is that strength of schedule is a telling stat. On PFF.com, you can go see our power rankings, and they show you the strength of schedule that the team has played to date and the strength of schedule remaining. The 2 teams that had the easiest schedule to this point in the season were the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers, both of whom got beat by double digits today and rather handily. And I think that's important context going forward. We should not get too enamored with teams that are beating bad teams. And I think we're going to see a situation kind of like that this week as well. I would push back on the Kyler Murray MVP thing, though.
Okay. Who's the MVP
I think
then?
we're going to see the MVP tomorrow night, or tonight, depending on when you're watching this or listening to this, in Derek Carr.
I don't disagree that Derek Carr is playing at an MVP level. I'd maybe disagree that he'll ever get it.
Well, sure, but we're playing in a he does not have the popularity contest over Kyler Murray, but don't you think? I guess I'm giving Derek Carr a little bit extra juice because he isn't the crazy athlete that Kyler Murray is.
He's also playing fantastic football. There's really you don't have to qualify your opinion. I just think for one, we have the history of Carr having just games where he just can't win. And like last year against Atlanta, they lose 40-6, and there was the game against the Jets a couple years ago where he literally is having great stretches of play and then can't win. We might see that at some point. We don't have, and then everybody's like, "Oh, that's the same old Derek Carr," right? Mm-hmm. Even though his statistics, Derek Carr's statistics last year, he was one of the most impressive quarterbacks in football last year. If you look at his statistics, you're talking about 67% completion, 27 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 8.8 yards a pass attempt. 7.9, 8.8 is this year. And that was with an ADOT that was almost a full yard and a half more than the season before. Mm-hmm. So to me, he's been impressive because he's been able to show he can play both kinds of play. And Gruden has changed that up and made it such that you could, they can sort of morph the offense to what wins with their personnel. And Carr is good enough to play in both of those sort of situations.
Did the Chiefs win? How much better did it make you feel if you're a Chiefs fan?
None.
Why?
I'll say this. I know that the Chiefs can so the Chiefs had scored a touchdown in every single drive today except for one, and that was when Mahomes threw the interception. I'm glad they covered. It was costly. It would have been costly had they not for me. But I worry when their defense was horrendous today.
It was not good.
And they needed essentially 3 field goal attempts from inside the 10 or so to even not to not lose that game outright. And so I think what they showed today is that they're very willing and capable of scoring on every drive if they have to. They ran the ball too much. Clyde had a good game. I think Andy is not as sharp as he has been historically.
Even with the shovel pass offense?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, what did you think? Because
I agree with you. I think I'm
not trying to write him off. I'm just saying I'm not confident in the team right now.
I agree with you. It was a Tyreek Hill goes bananas game. A team was able to take away Travis Kelce really for the first time all season, and their offense didn't feel it didn't feel consistent, even though they put up so many points. And here's the tough thing: is the Eagles are not very good.
That's
and
my
I think
whole.
That's like the thing that we kind of have to take away from this. The defense for the Chiefs does look like a problem. I'll say this: I mentioned Derek Carr. I also want to throw out. I think Dak Prescott belongs number 3. So I think it's Carr and Murray, depending on how Carr plays. Obviously against the Chargers, that's going to be a very telling.
Prescott sort of had like a weird performance. Only 188 yards and 4 touchdowns. They really wanted. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott, as much as I give him shit, has been fantastic the last couple weeks. And the Dallas Cowboys have leaned on him, not in the real sense, but in like a cosmetic sense. And Prescott has been that good as far as converting late downs. But again, against a Philly team that I don't think any of us believe is very good, and against a Panthers team that as well as Sam Darnold played for a minute there. I still think the Panthers, you're right to have real questions as to whether or not they're a contender.
I was thinking about putting together a top 5, power ranking top 5. It's tough.
You know who my number 1 team is in the league?
Who?
Buffalo.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
stop it.
Buffalo is my number 1 team in the league because they were my number 3, or depending upon where we are. Buffalo had a humongously high prior, lost a game in a fluky but also playing like crap fashion week 1, and since then they've done exactly what you would expect a team like that to do, right? I mean, they've won a game 35-0 against Miami, 40-0 against Houston. Washington football team, a team that is very game, beat them by 3 touchdowns.
Very game is an interesting way to put it, but sure.
But like, how much different is Washington from Philadelphia?
A little bit better.
Yeah, a little bit better, right? So like, I contrast them with Kansas City, right? And Kansas City's in this dogfight with Philadelphia all game, and Buffalo's like, yeah, forget this. And I don't even think Josh Allen's playing that well right now.
He's not.
So, moving forward, I look at great coach, good defense, quarterback who can be great, weapons everywhere, good offensive line.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have Buffalo 1. Go roll through top 5.
I would go Buffalo. And it's in tranches, right? Like Buffalo, Kansas City, Tampa, LA.
So you're keeping LA
and
ahead
then
of Arizona,
I would say, in the 5.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know. The order is jumbled there, right? I don't know the difference.
Yeah. I'm with you, except I would go. I would still keep. I think I'd keep Tampa at number 1. Not right now. They're not the best team right now because they're so injured. But if I'm trying to kind of power rank with a look towards the season, end of the season when people are healthy, I still do think Tampa's the best team. I'm going to go Kansas City over Buffalo right now.
Yeah.
And here's the reason why. They're playing on Sunday night this week. We will find out.
Yeah.
Buffalo has beaten the tar out of really bad teams.
Yep.
Kansas City still gets everyone's best shot. And, yeah, they're 2-2, but
you are right. Like they do get Philly's best shot today, and I thought Jalen Hurts played for him a really good game. It's interesting because we talk about this on like the college football live show where it's a lot more like power rankings are a lot more real because they're official. They have the AP, and Oregon was 3 for so many weeks, and you get comments saying like it's really weird that you have Oregon 16th and you have Ohio State like 4th. Given that Oregon beat Ohio State. And I go into the comments sometimes, I just ask questions. I was like, if Oregon and Ohio State played on a neutral field, who'd be favored? And
that's what the power rankings say.
And that's what our power rankings say. The AP 25 is trying to say who's most deserving of whatever, right? Which again, if you beat the team on the field, but it's a different thing. Now we'll see what the line is. I know, we were doing a project together. I know what it was. Like it was only 3.5 coming into the week, right? And so that would imply that the Chiefs are about 1.5. Depending upon what you make home field, 1.5 better on a neutral. Did this week sway that at all?
We're gonna find out when we pick the lines, guess lines. So I have Tampa Bay, Kansas City. I'll go Buffalo 3. This is where I really struggle. I really love. I love Kyler Murray. He's so much fun.
Loads of fun.
Sean McVay was worrisome today because in a game where they didn't hit all these big plays and they needed to make to create edges for themselves on fourth downs, he was just nowhere to be found. And so I'm actually going to put the Baltimore Ravens at 4. They've been banged up. They went into Denver. Now Denver does not have great quarterback play, but they're a very solid team. They went in and beat them rather handily. And then I'm going to tie at 5 with LA and Arizona. Vegas has a chance, in my opinion, to get up there, and I think Green Bay is right there at the back.
If you run back today's game, what's the spread of the game between LA and Arizona?
Well, we liked Arizona plus 4.5. We liked them last Sunday plus 6. And
that didn't end up making our write-up, but that was something we did talk about.
Look, if it's in LA again, I think it's probably LA minus 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably right. Should we get to these games?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. By the way, before we get to the games, got to remind the people, if you want all of the great information that we talk about on this podcast, from grades to power rankings to player efficiency to team efficiency, all that great stuff, go to pff.com and get yourself a PFF subscription. You get all the premium content, all the fantasy rankings and projections, the power rankings that we're talking about with the PFF Edge subscription that's as low as $9.99. And if you want the player props tool, best tool on the planet, if you're betting anything, bet player props, plus all the betting projections and the DFS optimizer, that's with an elite subscription. A little more expensive, but definitely worth it. So go grab all of those over at pff.com. Also, I should remind the good people that if you're going to bet, you should go bet at DraftKings, the official sports partner of the NFL. With Week 5 coming up, here's what you need to do. Go use promo code PFF, bet just $1 on any NFL game, and then get $100 worth of free bets if your team scores a point. It's very, very simple. So all those free bets, and then you can roll them into player props, which is what you should do. They also have some great same-game parlays and odd boosts. So go download the app, use promo code PFF right now, and get yourself ready. You want to bet them Monday as well. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania only. New customers are the ones that are eligible. $5 deposit minimum, $1 wager required, one per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And last but not least, you're going to win all that money. You should go to Western and Southern. Put your money in a place to work for you. Western and Southern is doing this for a very, very long time. That's why we use them to help get our money in a good spot. Whether you're buying a home, starting a family, or just want to watch your money grow, go to westernsouthern.com/PFF and get yourself in a good spot. All right. Thursday night, the Rams go to the Seahawks. What did you make this one?
Man, I made Seattle 2.5-point dogs. So I have LA laying 2.5.
Okay. I have Seattle as a 1.5-point dog, and they are on Pinnacle. By the way, we usually reference Pinnacle lines because they're generally the sharpest. So you can go see them at pinnacle.com /EN/football. Yeah, good friends of ours. They are 1 point. The Seahawks are 1 point underdogs at home.
It's probably right.
It probably is right. I like the Rams here.
Yeah.
Can I tell you why I like the Rams here?
Well, because
So there's a player that we haven't talked about yet, which is Trey Lance. I don't think that Trey Lance is worse than Jimmy Garoppolo, okay? But
wait a sec. So this is between two teams that do not include San Fran, but you're roping San Fran in.
I'm roping San Fran in.
Okay.
Here's
so
the
you're
thing.
pulling in Eric.
Yeah, here's the thing. Yeah. Seattle beat Trey Lance coming in not prepared to play in that game.
Mm-hmm.
That was obvious, okay? And it definitely had an impact on that game. Seattle had to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
Huge game for them. The Rams, on the other hand, are literally built to destroy the Seahawks defense. I mean, that is what they are built to do, and they have done it repeatedly. And I expect that to happen in this game. Coming off of a loss, Seattle coming off of a big win. In a situation where, Sean McVay's not going to take the fourth downs, neither is Pete Carroll.
Yeah. No, I mean, I sort of at some point want to build this into our model, but like, and I don't mean to do that. I don't mean to be a jerk when I say this, but like smart teams versus dumb teams, like, and I don't mean smart teams versus dumb teams like holistically. I just mean like take Cleveland, Minnesota today. Like Cleveland's going to take every fourth down, and Minnesota like took more fourth downs than they were going because they knew like, and you can get a team to be uncomfortable that way. If I know both teams are going to act suboptimally, I can sort of throw that additional second order out of the window. And that's what you're saying here, which I agree with.
I also think there are a couple of things at play here. One is we've seen Jalen Ramsey lock down DK Metcalf a couple of times.
Yeah, last year LA gave Seattle fits. So
and look, Matt Stafford is maybe not as big of an upgrade as some are saying about Jared Goff, but he's an upgrade. That's for damn sure. There's no doubt about that. And Russell Wilson is the better quarterback in this game, but it's shrinking a little bit, and the supporting cast is strongly in the favor of the Rams. I think we consider writing this one up.
Okay. I don't mind that one. Are we going to go to the London game next?
Are we going to go to the London game next? We are. 9:30 Eastern.
I was making fun of, so I was talking to Kendall, and I was like, you and Ben are going to be doing a prop stream at 6:30 in the Eastern for this game.
When I used to live on the West Coast, this game would start at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And Atlanta has played in this game a couple of times, and as a devout Falcons fan, I have woken up at 6 in the morning. And when you do that, if you watch this game at 9:30, I mean, this rolls right into the afternoon slate. You could be sitting in a recliner.
I know.
For a very, very, very long time.
These were my favorite. Like I was thinking back to when we used to do the pregame show on that couch in the other room over here. Yeah. And while this game was going on, I remember fondly week 3 of the first year we did betting together. It was Jacksonville, Baltimore. We had Baltimore. Yep. And Jags kicked the Baltimore Ravens.
Remember
ass.
that? Remember Marshall Yanda was out,
yeah.
And I kept trying to convince you that
I know the guards mattered. Guards wins.
Yeah. I have the Atlanta Falcons favored by 3.5 points in this game.
I said 2.5. You cannot, if you lay more than a field goal with the Falcons in today's NFL, you are a sicko.
Okay. Well, I'm not saying that I would bet the Falcons. I'm saying that's the price at which I would call it even. And thankfully, that is also the price that Pinnacle believes.
2.5?
No, 3.5.
Okay, we're going to bet the Jets, please.
You can.
All right, I'm betting the Jets. I'm betting the Jets right now.
You want to take that team off of their first win. I mean, you're a sicko. You are a sick human being.
So I'm going to level things. 2 rookie head coaches. So cancel those out.
Okay. One team has a quarterback that's gone and played in the London game multiple times. The other has Zach Wilson.
How much has this experience for Matt Ryan mattered lately? I mean, that guy, he threw an interception from his knees.
He played well today.
He did play well
Matt Ryan played really well today. He's going to finish this week as one of the higher graded. What did we say about Wilson
this week against Tennessee? They finally don't have to play a great defense, right? Mm-hmm. And he's not going to be completely swarmed.
So you think he found something today?
Now he didn't play well the whole game.
No.
It took him a while,
yes.
But eventually he looked like an NFL quarterback finally the Falcons defense is the biggest slump buster of all time. And you're getting a field goal. Like,
Zach Wilson is going to finish with probably in the low 70s.
Yeah, he
from
played,
a PFF
great.
grading perspective. He had, it was interesting. He had, I want to count 3 throws, and it looks like the pre-review grading agrees. 3 big-time throws, like 3 really nice throws, and only had 1 catastrophic play, which is like very good for him. I do like getting the hook. Do you think this actually moves?
No, bettors love the Falcons. Yeah, that's a good point. You bring up a great point. Here's the question that I have secondarily. So the LA one, it's in such a weird zone that the worst it can get is to LA -3, but you might as well just take -1 now. This, bettors like Atlanta, right? Like they opened 3.5 on Eagles, and it stayed there basically forever and ever, amen, all from May until week 1. So, okay, let's not take the Jets. If you like them, bet them now, but I don't see it moving, to your point. The only issue I can see with it moving is it is a standalone game, and standalone games get talked about by every swinging dick in the betting industry, and it might the narrative train might get chugging on that game.
Let's keep going through, and we'll see where we end up. I could be convinced here. Look, I just won a bet with the Jets. I'm not like dying to roll that over, right?
Jets have been the side of the professional bettors for all 4 weeks so far.
I do think, based on the juice that we're seeing, I don't think actually Rams or Jets are in danger of losing the position they're in. Okay, that said, I feel a hell of a lot more comfortable about just getting the Rams in now.
Yeah. We should ask Schwartzy what he or she thinks.
Yes, those were incredible. Okay, Detroit goes to Minnesota. What do you have here?
I feel like I'm this way with every single game, but this is one that actually has a big spread. I have Minnesota laying 6.5.
Okay, I have Minnesota by 7. It's interesting. In guessing this, I started at 6. I went to 6.5, and then I went to 7, went to 7.5, and then came back to 7. And it is the Vikings -8, although it looks like it's trending towards 7.5.
Yeah, I would take Detroit. I mean, at this, like, the hard part is Kirk Cousins has owned Detroit. Like, if he didn't get to play it, like,
yeah.
I mean, Kirk Cousins' deathbed, he's going to ask for his last meal. It's going to be the Lions. Mm-hmm. And I would just stay away. I mean, I do think that there's probably value on Detroit. We saw today, though, that's not a real team. You know what I mean? It's a team that plays hard. The Vikings are a real team. They just aren't good enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference between these two teams in class, and I think it's reflected in the point spread here.
I would agree with you. I'm not like dying to bet Detroit a bunch, but I think 8 is too many points.
Yeah, I mean like I said, the Vikings. You were bound to have a Kirk Cousins game like that today.
By the way, we have not mentioned the totals. Total in the Thursday night game, 53.5. Total in the Jets-Falcons game, 44. Total in the Detroit Lions-Minnesota Vikings game is 49.
I kind of like over in the Jets-Atlanta game, but the Jets, both the Jets and Atlanta went over their total today in their games. What did you say for Minnesota-Detroit?
46.
Okay.
49.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Turn my 6s to 9s.
Nice.
Let's see here. Let's move on. That game is not fun to talk about. Let's go to New Orleans football team. I had
this is one of these games.
The Washington football team at home getting 1.5 points. What about you?
I said 2.5.
It is 1.
Okay.
James Winston played well today.
Yeah.
Played very, very well.
Let's take New Orleans.
Yeah. I think it's I do like New Orleans
because the Washington football team is okay. Like, again,
that win today was kind of fraudulent.
Was more the Falcons than anything, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So And New Orleans' loss against the Giants was more fluky, and the fact that Daniel Jones is actually like, if you watch the game, Daniel Jones looked fine. Like it's receiver, like Evan Ingram needs to just wherever they're putting Belichick's son when he gets arrested, they got to put Evan Ingram there too, because like he's terrible. My goodness,
The
Steve Belichick.
The Jason Garrett play call with a like an end around or like a jet sweep to Evan Ingram.
I had one of those.
The Giants winning that game is incredible given what their offense looked like.
I had one of those parlay. I had one of those with Caesars where they let you like parlay 2 over touchdown props with Jameis and Daniel Jones, and that game was tilting. I'll just say that.
Total on this game is 44. I like the Saints.
I don't think over is a good play because of the way the Saints like to play, but I do like Saints laying a point.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Sorry. Let's go to Houston on purpose. They are hosting the New England Patriots. I feel like I could be pretty wrong with this one. I said Houston would be getting 9.5 points at home.
Oh, man.
What did you say?
Where did I go? I said 11.5.
Okay, this one, I don't see it on Pinnacle, so I'm going to have to go to our good friend Jeff Sherman, Golf Odds. He's the Superbook Sports VP of Risk Management, and he posts all the lines before Sunday Night Football. New England, wow, I'm kind of on fire right now. New England, 9.5 point favorites pre-Sunday night.
Sunday night probably makes you like New England more.
A little bit,
but their offense isn't explosive enough to reliably lay this much. Houston is just this bad, though.
Houston is really terrible. Although, I mean, again, no team is as bad as they look the week before.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm definitely not laying it with New England there. Let's say that.
Yeah, let's ignore that. Total is what?
I don't see a total.
Yeah, okay.
Moving right along. The Miami Dolphins go to Tampa Bay.
Ooh. Another game where you're going to have to look at the golf odd guy.
Yeah, the golf odd guy. Where is this one? What did you have this at?
I said Tampa minus 9.5. I think that's actually short, but I
have Tampa minus 10.5. We split it. It is Tampa minus 10.
Yeah. I mean, Miami's really bad without Tua. Like, it's hard to say that, but like they got a competent backup in place. And
do you feel good about Tampa Bay covering any spread with this secondary?
No, it's very Kansas City-in.
Their secondary is really not great.
Yeah.
I'm not anxious to bet Tampa with this secondary, even with Tom Brady. So this one is interesting because I definitely want to bet on Tom Brady in this game. I'll probably do it with props instead of on this game. That said, this is again a Belichickian defense with Brian Flores, some really good corners. So I don't know. This might actually not be the week to.
Well, and so usually Brady struggles when he goes to Miami, right? Like that was always the thing when he was with New England. But like, it is a familiarity issue. Also, like there's just something off with Tampa's receivers, right? You're seeing drops by Antonio Brown that you weren't seeing before.
Yeah, they'll come back.
Yeah. I'm just saying now, like in their current form. Sure. I mean, they're still running the ball too much to Lenny. Their offensive line still isn't getting push. Their receivers aren't playing great. Like they're not in great form. Like this is a game where I think it's Miami or nothing, and I'd rather do nothing than Miami.
I'd rather go to Miami than do nothing. But yeah, okay. Next game, the Green Bay Packers are coming here. Aaron Rodgers is going to be.
I think my wife has a ticket because she's a Packers
let's
fan.
go. Playing the Cincinnati Bengals, who beat in comeback fashion the Fighting Urban Meyers.
They outlasted the Jacksonville Jaguars on Thursday Night Football.
As you said before the podcast started, Urban Meyer covered on Thursday night.
But not Saturday night.
Not Saturday. Couldn't quite. What'd you have this one at? Or is this
I said Green Bay laying 7.5.
Oh, my God. We are in dramatic disagreement. I have Green Bay laying 3.5.
Okay.
It is Green Bay laying 3.
What? Okay.
3 minus 118, though.
On Pinnacle, which is probably like in the 125 range.
Yeah.
So if we wrote it up, it probably would.
It's
we'd
really
have to make it 3.5. I mean, it's still too much. It's still not enough.
By the way, I'm nailing these fucking spreads. By the
I
way.
know you are.
Do have to lay Green Bay.
You
here.
do. I think I will.
Joe Burrow.
What's the total on the game?
Total on this game is 49.5.
Yeah.
Do you think Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow has played very, very well.
And they have receivers that could give the Packers fits. They're not a physical team up front, which gives the Packers problems.
Here's I think the reason I might lay off this one. Jair Alexander hurt his shoulder.
That's right.
Ben Roethlisberger is absolutely horrid.
As like a human or as a quarterback or both?
Both.
I wrote a tweet that said like, hey, I would have more empathy for you people if you didn't spend the whole month of November calling us idiots. And then somebody was like, yeah, also Ben like has this thing going on. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. It's weird that we just sort of forgot about that.
But yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow, after a couple shoddy weeks, is a top 6 graded quarterback in the NFL. I mean, there's a dramatic difference between barely covering against Ben Roethlisberger and a better team from that division.
Yeah, at the same time, the Bengals got behind 14-0 to Urban Meyer at home.
Right, but they were favored. There's a huge difference for the Bengals when you're favored versus when you're home underdogs.
That's right.
I actually kind of think this is a stay away.
Okay, all right. I'm cool.
But I do like I mean, you are dramatically on the other side. I do think. Do you think the Jair thing matters?
Of course.
Because I think in this.
Yeah, and I was not thinking of it when I first, like when we do it before the games.
Right.
So where do we have? We have Green Bay as 2.8 points better than the average team on a neutral. I guess this, from our power rankings, the Bengals have taken a leap, with the wins that they've currently had. Okay, and Rodgers is kind of the problem is the LaFleur Rodgers. What did LaFleur Packers do? They kick the shit out of bad teams.
But the Bengals aren't a bad team anymore.
Okay, so that's the point you're making.
The
I still think they're
Steelers,
bad.
The Steelers are worse.
Yeah, and they mostly kicked the shit out of them today.
They did, except that they were a really interesting offsides call away from not covering.
Oh, yeah.
And Ben Roethlisberger throwing anything down the field with accuracy away from not covering.
Yeah, there was
at home.
I think the touchdown at the beginning was fluky and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, okay.
Let's consider it. Next up, the Denver Broncos are playing the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh.
I showed no respect to Pittsburgh here.
I'm not surprised by that. I, in guessing this line, put Pittsburgh as a 2.5 point favorite.
I said Pittsburgh is 2.5 point underdog.
Well, there you go. Where is this?
We have to find out about Teddy Bridgewater's head injury.
That's right.
So if Teddy Bridgewater is healthy and Pittsburgh is giving 1/10 of 1 point on the betting spread, I'm taking Denver.
It's a pick.
I'm taking Denver.
But I don't know if you can find this.
Yeah, I don't think it's available now. Like, what do you think that? Because like Pittsburgh was relatively plucky today compared to what a lot of people thought they'd be. Mm-hmm. Like Big Ben sucked, but the rest of the team was fine. Denver was very disappointing. There was a lot of, I would say, I don't know, professional money, but there were a lot of smart people who liked Denver today, and they did not live up to it in any way, shape, or form.
No. And they weren't doing that with Teddy Bridgewater. That's something I think people should remember.
Yeah, but they were behind with when Bridgewater got hurt.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, it's not just the Drew Lock thing, right?
Although the Drew Lock thing is real. Like, Drew Lock stinks.
He's not very good. But they are hurt at receiver, and they had played some really poor competition. I will say this. I when it comes online, I kind of like Pittsburgh in this spot.
Okay.
Can't believe I'm saying that. I can't.
No,
Can't.
I actually respect it more than like I said, like my thing with the Bears. It's like I'm laying with the Bears. I think it's a good number. I don't like the Bears. I think Matt Nagy's an idiot. No one's talking about Matt Nagy getting fired, right?
Right.
Because it's a week-to-week league, George.
Yes, it is. Philadelphia goes to Carolina. Carolina, second easiest schedule in the first 3 weeks, and then got demolished by the Cowboys. What'd you have this at?
I said Carolina laying 2.5. I think that's short.
I would say it's short too. I had them 4.5, and they are 4.5.
Wow. Okay.
Although little bit of juice on the other side, so I would say it's probably closer to 4.
Yeah, but still reasonably more than 2.5.
Yes. I think this. I obviously think this number is pretty spot on. I don't think Carolina is nearly as good as an undefeated team as they showed today, and Philadelphia is a hard team to kind of figure out because they're clearly playing hard. They still believe in Nick Sirianni. They've been in these interesting spots where, like, they played the Cowboys in a game where the Cowboys had so much emotion. Their home opener, Dak is back. They played the Chiefs in a situation where the Chiefs had to win this game in an Andy Reid revenge game.
Their first 2-score win
in forever
in the regular season since week 8 of last year.
So it's hard for they kicked the crap out of Atlanta in week 1. They lost in week 2 to how am I blanking on this?
Yeah, San Francisco. San Francisco played poop in that game too.
But they played
hard.
It was a close game.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to put a gauge on Philly. I think this is a game where there's a couple teams that you don't know a ton about.
You learn a little bit about. So you lay off it from a betting perspective.
All right. Sam Darnold, by the way, looked really good for a half, and then
I think Dan Quinn is catching a run of good variance on defense, and when he does that, it can have success. I mean, the 2016 Falcons got a lot of good run out of Deion Jones, Devondre Campbell, Keanu Neal, Ricardo Allen.
Yeah.
When things were working for him, Vic Beasley, and it looks like that's what Dallas is getting right now.
I will say this. I do think that the Carolina wide receivers have a pretty big advantage. They are very, very good.
Philly's defense as a whole, my God, today.
And they're banged up as well. Tennessee goes to Jacksonville. Wonder whether Urban Meyer will be there or not.
Yeah, I have a great story about this game.
Okay. Do you want to tell it now, or do you want to guess the lines first?
How I guessed the line.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So I have it written on my sheet. Tennessee -7.5 at NYJ. and because I thought, Jacksonville and the Jets are the same team.
Same thing.
And so I looked at the opening line for that game, and I was like 7.5.
Okay. I'm on the other side of 7. I said 5.5.
I'm assuming some health out of the wide receivers for the Titans.
It's 3.5.
Oh, come on.
It is 3.5.
Well, they're factoring in the rest for Jacksonville.
It is 3. It's probably closer to 4.
Okay.
Total of 48.
Please. Okay. Bet Tennessee then.
I mean, it is an opportunity to probably say, okay, so I actually think A.J. Brown is probably out a couple weeks.
But Julio is more in that banged up range than he is in that
Yes.
long-term injury range. I did see Josh Reynolds got hurt today. I don't know if he came back or not. That's something to consider because at that point, that's wide receiver 1, 2, and 3 all out. Chester Rogers, I know, is in the neighborhood, if you will, for that team. But
no, I do
That is a concern.
It is. However, Tennessee did just lose to the Jets, which is also.
Yeah, but again, it's a buy. It's a.
This is the time to buy them.
Yeah. I mean, my God, Tennessee. Like, that division is so bad. So, like, in theory, if Jacksonville could pull off a win this week, then you have Tennessee 2-3, Jacksonville 1-4, Houston 1-4, and then Indy 1-4 probably.
Yeah, that division is really bad. Okay, so that is the 1 p.m. slate.
Yeah.
Before we get to the 4 p.m. slate, our old friends, our dear friends, that provide us with the machinery to keep ourselves trimmed.
Oh, nice. I did that the other day, by the way, in case everybody was wondering.
How'd it go for you?
It was fine. It worked a lot better than
Look,
my lip.
I think it should be said that if you are considering purchasing something from manscaped.com, if Eric used it and managed to like not have an accident with it,
A catastrophe.
that really goes a long way. I'll also say I use my lawnmower 4.0, and I haven't charged it. I've been traveling. I haven't charged it in probably a month. Still works like a dream. That was my biggest gripe about the 3.0. They fixed it completely. It also has a light, which is also useful in case you're in a dark space and need to make sure that your body hair is trimmed.
Yeah. But I mean, in theory, it shouldn't matter because if you like swing and miss, it's not good. It's designed not to like nick your.
That's true. It is designed not to cut anything off other than hair. So go to manscaped.com. Use promo code PFF. The Lawnmower 4.0 comes recommended by myself and Eric. I promise you I would not recommend something like this unless I used it myself. So you have that from me. You can get 20% off and free shipping with promo code PFF. Also, I'll recommend this as well, the deodorant that they have.
That's amazing too. Have you ever thought of like, Manscaped hit on such a great idea with like the name and the persona and
awesome,
like the product is almost secondary. Like they come out and they're like, hey, we got the Lawnmower 4.0. I'm like, I'm satisfied with the Lawnmower 3.0 and all this kind of stuff.
I wasn't. I was looking forward to the 4.0.
Like, don't you think like the next big thing is going to be like products where like the persona matters more?
I think that we're already there.
So like I need like, for example, coronavirus. We're trying to fix coronavirus. How to fix it? Like, what if we had like a service called like Jab in a Cab, where like it was like a service where you could get a ride somewhere, but also we can give you the coronavirus, the COVID-19 vaccine. You know?
I don't know. I think you should drop what you're doing right now and
start building.
Maybe we'll do some tests with some people out here in Cincinnati because if it works there, then it'll work anywhere.
Well, I feel like there's been a lot of jabs and cabs in Cincinnati before, but
based on the cabs here, that's definitely true. Okay, the 4 p.m. slate. Not quite as good as today's 4 p.m. slate, but good. Cleveland goes to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. I have the Chargers as a 2.5-point favorite at home.
Okay, we have not watched the Chargers. I am the same.
Let's see here.
We have not watched the Chargers play this week.
Yeah, interesting. It is Cleveland -1.
Okay, let's bet the Chargers. The Cleveland Browns were absolutely and utterly horrendous on offense today.
It was
Baker Mayfield, like you were watching the before and after picture of the Goffian, the Kirkian quarterbacks that you shouldn't pay big contracts to today in Minnesota.
That was
I mean, Kirk wasn't nearly as bad as Baker, but the team around him was bad. And like somebody on the internet was like, well, yeah, if you gave Kirk to the Browns, I'm like, that's the point. You can't give Kirk to the Browns. You'd be over the cap.
Right.
Like, did Mayfield like lose himself? He had a great game against the Chiefs week 1, but the last 3 weeks he has not earned the big contract extension.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. I guess the one thing that I would say here is, fading the Browns, a team that we believe to be smart offensively and throughout the organization, at the bottom of the market. That's kind of the one thing. That said, I do kind of like the matchup here. That Chargers
are soft against the run.
Chargers are soft against the run. It's true. But they have strength at left tackle, with Rashawn Slater. I do think it'll be interesting to see like what this game looks like on Monday tonight. Yeah. But I'm with you. I'm with you on the Chargers.
Okay.
The total in this game, I don't know if there is one.
Probably not with the Monday night game.
Yeah, not that I see. Alrighty. We move on to Las Vegas, who also plays on Monday night. They are hosting your Chicago Bears. What'd you have this one at?
6.5 Las Vegas.
Okay. I had it as Vegas by 3.5, and it is 4.
This is the yo-yo theory or the zigzag theory of gambling, right? Isn't it? Like,
yes.
Is this like an overreaction to the overreaction? Like Chicago still sucks.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say is this is a little bit of a trap game. So the Raiders play the Chargers, and then the following week after playing the Bears, they play the Broncos.
Okay.
So I'm a little concerned about that. That said, I do think the Bears stink.
Yeah.
I do think the Bears stink.
Yeah.
But you never know. I mean, Justin Fields.
Yeah, he made a throw today
actually
to the sideline to Allen Robinson that was exactly what we
multiple
wanted.
throws to Darnell Mooney.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is why you play this guy over Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
It must have been the things that Matt Nagy saw.
Learned over the last 2 weeks. Yeah, great. Good for him. Good for him.
I mean, the Bears also have some weaknesses up front on the offensive line. We'll see, against the Chargers tonight. I think whether that Raiders pass rush is for real. So far they absolutely have been, 100% have been. So, San Francisco, Arizona, in the Valley of the Sun. What'd you have this at?
Well, the Lance thing's weird, but I assumed I moved this after Lance, and I have Arizona minus 3.5.
So you moved it from what to what?
2.5 to 3.5.
Okay. Interesting. So
I don't think that Lance long term is less valuable than Jimmy G, but I do think a quarterback change is worth it. Yeah.
I had it at 3 and I moved it to 4.
Okay. What is it?
It is Arizona 4.5, but probably closer to 5.
I think you should take San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there.
I mean, I know buying into a rookie quarterback in his first start is questionable, and I know I don't mean to say this in a disparaging way, but Cliff and Kyle Shanahan are both like fake sharp, like they don't go for the fourth downs and stuff, so they're kind of equally yoked there, and so Shanahan's a better play caller, so there's advantages there. You're also selling Arizona at the highest.
I'll also say this. You have no idea what the 49ers are going to do on offense. They haven't shown a real scheme with Trey Lance in the preseason. They sure as hell didn't show it in this game. I definitely like selling Cliff at the top of the market. I'm here for that.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Okay.
I'm here for trying to make a transitivity chain out of the NFC West.
There you go. The Dallas Cowboys hosting the New York Football Giants, fresh off of an overtime victory to get their first win. I believe I'm going to be a little short here. I have Dallas minus 6.
I have not minus 9.5.
Whew. You are definitely closer than I am. It is Dallas minus 7.5.
That is too short, but I can see what they're doing because defense for the Giants is plucky. Daniel Jones has played well.
He has played really well. He's great.
McCarthy is Mike McCarthy's like part-time woke now, though. I mean, the end of half was bad against the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday. I'm trying to think of the other stuff. Like he had a fourth down, but he went for the 2-point conversion after the going offsides. Like he's done some stuff that's smart. And if he does that, like the advantage for him over Judge is immense.
Yeah. By the way, the total in Niners Cardinals is 53.5.
Yeah, it was 52 when the Niners faced the Seahawks. That had no chance. It was 54 when Arizona played LA, and it took a cheap touchdown at the end to go over that. So You could also think of under there.
That feels like an under to me.
Yeah.
Total in Giants Cowboys is 50.5.
Also seems like a bit high.
Which does seem a little high.
Although Dallas versus Philly went over on Monday Night Football, just with one offense being very Giantsian.
Yeah, I mean the Jason Garrett revenge game cannot be.
Yeah. But the Dallas Cowboys are a well-octane machine right now.
True. All right, we go to Sunday night. Buffalo, Kansas City. I had the Chiefs as a 3.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I mean, we knew kind of ahead of time.
We did.
Well, that was the thing we were working on.
Yeah, I didn't look specifically to make
I had to enter it hard-coded in. Yeah. But I'm actually going to disagree with it. Kansas City minus 2.5.
Yeah, I knew this was coming. This is the self-fulfilling prophecy on your part. The Chiefs are minus 3.
So it's like smack dab in the middle. What's the juice?
In the middle. Looks like it's on the other side of things. So probably heading towards 2.5.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could touch Buffalo at less than a field goal, which is why I made it 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I could lay points with Kansas City right now. Their defense is and defense shouldn't matter that much. It's all about how Buffalo performs. But man, it's hard to envision them stopping Buffalo.
It definitely is. If it's 2.5, I'm going to take Kansas City. I
know what you mean.
Buffalo has beaten really, really bad teams. That's just the fact of the matter. They've blown them out, but they've been bad teams. And Kansas City has had Buffalo's number. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has outplayed Josh Allen so far this year and has outplayed Josh Allen in the games that they've played one another. But it is really tough to take Kansas City right now.
Yep.
That's for sure. Yeah. If it's 2.5, I think that's definitely a teaser spot.
Yeah, but what's the total in this game?
About 57.
Yeah, I wouldn't tease. It's like if you tease it, it's going to look a lot like today's game against Philly did, where it's it's close, yo-yoing back.
Yeah,
and then
it won't because Buffalo is way better.
But
than
then just
Philly.
take Buffalo against the spread then.
Sure.
I
think under is an interesting play there. By the way.
Yeah, I do think both teams are going to try to slow the game down. I mean, it's just that if they can't actually stop the other team. The thing about the Chiefs this year that's actually fairly good is other than turnovers, they've been great in the red zone. They have not settled for field goals, which was a weakness for them last year. If they settle for a field goal at all, they don't cover really this game. So
Monday night, the Colts go to Baltimore to play where they used to play.
This is a Colts revenge game, yeah.
Yep. I have the Baltimore Ravens laying 7.
I have it at 9.5.
It is 7.
I want nothing to do with Indianapolis.
Absolutely the same. I could not agree more.
So do we lay it with Baltimore? I mean, Baltimore's a flawed team, but can you imagine Wink Martingale's defense against Carson Wentz?
Oh, I can. That image in my mind definitely comes to mind. And it's not pretty. Yeah, I do think the other side of 7 is the right. The right play total on this game is 48. Yeah. I do think this is correct. Miami with Jacoby Brissett is not anywhere near what Baltimore is. I mean, nowhere close. Yeah, I'm on board with Baltimore.
Okay.
All right, that was week number 5. We will decide which ones we're going to write up. We're going to write them up, and they will be out in the morning. If you're watching this now, we appreciate you hanging out with us this evening. If you're listening to us in the morning, hopefully you had a wonderful week 5. Looking forward to a great game tonight. Hopefully you listened to this podcast last week and you have Raiders plus 3.5. I believe it is now down to 3. Regardless, enjoy the game. If you're looking for something to bet, go check out the player props tool on PFF.com. I guarantee you'll have multiple things that make a ton of sense. Thanks for hanging out. Peace.